right. Welcome, everybody. I just wanted to hop on here real quick, give a quick update with, I don't know, the goings-ons of things. It's getting really excited, or it's getting really exciting. I'm getting really excited. But also, there are other things about not losing focus. So, as always, I'm doing a lot of social engineering on the X app and just basically discussing with people, helping them realize like things that they might not have realized, like alternative perspectives or like other facts or things or just things to think about. Specifically, what I'm talking about is cannabis versus alcohol. Now, it's an uphill battle arguing with people, especially parents that have lost kids to suicide or something. Like that really, oof, that was very awkward for me to talk about saying to a woman's face, like, hey, did you ever think that maybe you were partly to blame for it? Of course, I didn't say it that way, but that it was received that way. I was blocked instantly, not even a response. And so then I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to talk about it, I'm going to go back to the post where other people are talking about it, and I'm going to put my voice there. If you don't want to directly respond to this, then I'm going to do that. And I'm basically going to make that a campaign because the safety of people is at the heart of my concerns, especially with marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want. And even just calling it marijuana, that is like subliminally still telling people that it is some Hispanic Spanish thing, like whereas it's been known for thousands of years, like as hey, this is a thing that people have used for thousands of years. We have a what is it called, an endocrinoid cannabinoid system or something like that. We have receptors in our brains, and that's one of the things I really liked. Actually, let's get some wood because we need to prepare for building basically a red kingdom underground. I'm trying to make the basement or the dungeon of the Joker Tower into this gigantic like area of like the red nether bricks. So, but anyways, and then I'm also talking to this guy that he's arguing, his argument's right up there with weed smells bad, so I don't like it. He said that he was seeing people that go into a dispensary driving with like three good wheels, one of them being a donut, or like they're dressed like slobs, or they have kids in the car, or any number of things. And I'm just like, hold on a sec. This isn't directly proof that people that use cannabis are letting other responsibilities in their life suffer for cannabis. Like, okay, so you don't know the whole story to that, a car with a donut on it. Like, imagine what's the first thing goes through your mind if you get a flat tire? Oof, I could use a drink, or oh, I could use a smoke. Like this is a stressful situation. I was not planning on this, and so I could totally see somebody be like, oh, we got a flat tire, let's go buy some bud, and then we can go home, smoke about it, think about it, and regroup. Like I could see that being a thing. Whereas like, oh, I've just been driving around on a donut. Look at what the people that tend to choose alcohol on average are actually doing. They're riding bicycles because they probably got a DUI or there's a much higher chance. Not probably, I shouldn't say it because that's not fair in my own bias. Like I shouldn't assume that people are not adults capable of making financial decisions in regards to alcohol. However, I will say that I've seen a lot more people that are living outside, like without homes, housing insecurity, however you want to call it, used to formerly known as homeless people. I think housing insecurity is a lot more polite way and more correct way to say it because like they might be homeless at that snapshot in time, but you don't know the bigger picture. Like what stage of their housing insecurity are they at? Like where are they at with local programs, their own sobriety, PTSD and trauma? Like are they addressing the root mental issues at the cause of substance abuse? And remember, substance abuse and substance use are very different. There's a huge difference of somebody because somebody could be a functional crack user, Hunter Biden. Somebody could be a functional heroin user. Jimi Hendrix might not be a good example, but look at musicians like, the Rolling Stones. There's like people from the Stones, I feel like they're like 80, 90 years old and they did all the drugs, all the sex with women, all the sex with men. I don't know. Like, they did all the things that you hear about rock stars doing, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And they're living into their old age. So it makes you wonder, was it really the drugs? or was it the environment? Like, maybe they didn't have to put up with a lot of the nonsense, like people pointing fingers, being mad parents, like Mothers Against Drunk Driving too. I feel like that would be a really great organization to get on my side, like of this argument. Like, well, we hate drunk driving because it killed our kids. However, with cannabis, wait a minute. Cannabis fatalities, as long as alcohol isn't involved, there's a lot less dead kids. And I would wager that that's true from my own experience of my friends that, you almost would exclusively pick one or the other. It was horrible mixing alcohol and cannabis. Like, you'd usually get the spins, or at least from my experience, like I'd get really dizzy, get sick. I'd almost always throw up, and then I'd have like a bad time. I mean, it might be pretty fun until then, or you might get some brownie points with your peers, be like, "Oh, look at A-Rye, he just smoked and he's drinking. Oh, well, cool is that?" But often I would be vocal with the people around me, be like, "Say, I don't think this is a good idea. I honestly," and then I started just telling people flat out, be like, "Nah, I'm smoking tonight. I'm not drinking. Thanks though." And it was a very quick, easy way to be like, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not drinking." And that was back when and like, I used to have to do things like fill a beer can full of water. And not because anybody cared. Honestly, they would care a lot less if I wasn't drinking because that would mean more for them. It's expensive, like, and if you got to provide the alcohol for everybody and, you got to worry about did they chip in or not, versus if they're just drinking water out of a beer can to look cool, like, whatever. Like, again, a lot of our experiences, we're our harshest judges internally. I don't know. Anyways, back to this guy. So he's like trying to shame people going to dispensaries, saying, "Oh, they look like slobs," and all that. Well, maybe they're also in a very much more relaxed state to where they don't care as much about their public appearance. Like, maybe that's a good thing that they look like slobs. Like, are they wearing pajamas to go like shopping and stuff? Like, just tells me that they're in a very relaxed, chill mental state. Like, you see some people go into liquor stores, which I saw a lot of that in college. They got the shakes, they need their fix, like they need to get the hair of the dog in them because they got too drunk the night before, or they have hangovers. They're wearing sunglasses. They're like an inch away from vomiting. Like, it's just funny to me. Like, somebody would be that critical and judgmental of how people buying cannabis look when. And I know it's not a complete fair comparison to constantly keep pointing at alcohol, because alcohol, yes, it can be enjoyed responsibly, but it is a lot harder to enjoy that responsibly than cannabis. Like, I'm just telling you from everything I've seen, witnessed, heard, and what I know for myself. Like, I have a very easy time abusing alcohol and letting it cross into substance abuse when I'm drinking to get drunk. Like, that is substance abuse, and people don't like to, well, they don't, it's not that they don't like to, it's they'll often overlook that or forget to bring up that little tidbit. Like, what's the alternative? Oh, well, normally Johnny would be out getting like completely wasted and crash into a car possibly, or drive and get arrested for a DUI. Whereas with cannabis, and now this I have experienced a lot. So I will admit, back in my youth, I used to drink and drive and smoke and drive. Not a lot. Like, I mean, I had a friend die from drunk driving when I was 18, like barely out of high school. I think I had just gotten back from the or wait, no, I was getting ready to go to the Marines, and I was still working construction with this guy. He did concrete, and I did framing, and I was drunk all the time. I was using substances and all this, and part of why I washed out of the Marines was because I didn't have a clean UA for him. But but I had to go all the way to San Diego just for them to tell me that. And so it was like, I mean, I was relieved because I thought I was going to prison, but it's okay. A little bit of shame for not serving my country. I can live with that. But no, my buddy though, he crashed and killed himself because he was trying to go to the liquor store. We ran out of, or not even we. I think I was at the party, but I left way early. It was a woodsy, and like we had a designated buyer and a designated driver that was drunk. And so like planning and stuff, how to plan for a successful party, especially when judgments start becoming skewed because of alcohol. It seems like a fun thing. And already people are risky drivers when they're young because they're just like learning it out. Be like, oh, look how cool I am. I can drive risky. And it's like, oh, crud. It doesn't happen with weed. Like, that is the biggest, like, stark contrast of, like, if you give somebody $50 worth of alcohol or $50 worth of cannabis and tell them to go have a good night and only use this, oh, like, and I almost don't want to see studies like that because you get a lot of Brock Turners and, like, like shaken baby syndrome and domestic violence and all these very ugly things that if you look at like on average, like were these crimes committed by people who regularly consume alcohol or regularly consume cannabis? Well, I'll bet you it's mostly alcohol, like cannabis, and especially if it's cannabis by itself. Now, a lot of the times you see people say, well, there was cannabis involved, there was weed involved. Okay, yeah, it was probably involved, but like, which was the more influential factor? Was it alcohol or was it cannabis? Or was it any of the illegal drugs, which almost always people wouldn't even be doing in the first place had they not been drinking, had their decisions making blurred and been like, hey, you know what sounds good? Let's go do some crack. Like, or let's go do something harder. Let's get crazy. Let's get wild. And like, next thing you know, you're stealing Mike Tyson's tiger. And I'm just kidding. But like the plot of The Hangover, it is funny because it's so true. Like that can happen if you drink. Now, whereas, what is it? Like any of the stoner movies, Pineapple Express, that's what can happen because of black markets of cannabis. But notice, even throughout that movie, the villains, the quote unquote villains, were not all that scary. Like, they were just weed dealers who are honestly not that scary. Like, I don't know, they've had to be because, a lot of money is spent trying to run a black ops or a black operation, a black market thing. Like, all of the extra resources, time, money, and effort you have to put into concealing what product you have on hand and concealing where it's coming from, where it's going, and concealing all this stuff that a liquor store doesn't need to worry about. It's broadcast out in the open. We get our shipments from this company, this bottling company or brewing company, and like it's all taxed and above board. And oh, but don't look at all the crime downstream that result from the use of these substances that we're pumping through this country. Like, it's frustrating because people either refuse to see it or they aren't able to see it. And that's why I take so much time, a lot of time arguing and debating things on XApp specifically for that reason, because I want people to understand just what's at stake with the whole cannabis discussion. Like, if you're going to be vocal about these things being such bad things, you need to be vocal about the pros and the cons. It can't just be a one-sided thing. And so far, and like in that, I'm definitely going to be targeting organizations. Like, and I've got them now. They blocked me. I can see who they were, see how they handled my comment, my reply. And I even started with like, first off, I mean, no disrespect to the memory of your son. If anything, like, and I would have to be more gentle than just this, like, you're to blame, and they, if you really want to fix the problem, stuff like that. But it does need to be said. And unfortunately, my parents were they were also caught by the reefer madness. Like they believed wholeheartedly that cannabis was the devil, Bobby Boucher, and it was just about as silly and stupid as the Waterboy and Adam Sandler. So, and this is what we're fighting against and debating against is like all of this propaganda that has been deeply ingrained in parents' minds over generations that weed will make your kids into a criminal, like all this, when it's really how we handle the policy that makes them the criminals. Like if they weren't, how else do you even phrase that? Like if weed wasn't a crime, then they wouldn't be criminals. Oh, like, wait, what? And it's just like, well, yeah, if we didn't demonize this plant for whatever reasons, and then you look at the reasons that we actually did demonize the plant. Nixon wanted to target political opponents. He hated hippies, and they used to congregate by doing none other than smoking weed with each other and talking about how war sucks and how evil it is and how there's ulterior perspectives, ulterior processes that we could do, other ways of doing things to where we don't have to go to war and fight these things. We could just treat people like people. But no, that wasn't good for business. So they designated as like dangerous with no medical benefits. Okay, well, tell me the medical benefit that alcohol has. Like we allow that without any medical benefits. Actually, quite the contrary. A lot of health risks, so we regulate it. Same with tobacco. 500,000 people dead every year because of tobacco, directly linked to the use of tobacco. But we don't treat that as dangerous and scary as like, we probably should, considering all these other things. So it's just contrasting these things makes people wonder and be like, wait a minute, why are we banning this thing? Because at the end of the day, it's not okay. All right, now I gotta go get ready for my next meeting. I just had a little break in between, so wanted to bring that up, and that's kind of the direction this will go. I'm still waiting to get a microphone. I'm gonna get back into Twitch. I'll start off with Coding War or Coding Game and Code Wars, and do some streams on doing computer sciencey stuff and try to establish a channel that way. And then I'm going to branch off into streaming Minecraft and Dark Souls and doing all those fun projects and documenting it all. Document, 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 because at the end of the day, all this stuff I'm talking about seems pretty hopeful, but at the same time, there is a lot of method to the madness. So, all right, ta-ta for now. I will see you in the next one, hopefully some tonight, maybe tomorrow. I got really blazing fast internet. Videos upload in like minutes now. It's crazy. So now I need to go back and spend some time organizing, adding descriptions, upgrading my videos, seeing which ones got glitchy, because I'm a little worried that some had to have gotten glitched out a little bit with how fast, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. But anyways, ta-ta for now. Happy Monday, everybody. And remember, just be kind to each other and don't stop the debate. And again, be kind, because then when debating with people, you got to show respect, get respect, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So I will see you in the next one. Ta-ta.